Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome in Comdarchipodcast Season 4
Saison 4, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
and in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Dear listeners, hello and welcome to our summer series in Season 4 of comdarchi. This is Esther for Anne-Charlotte. Today we're going to talk about the oniric Château d'Abbadia based on a summary I had the opportunity to write. A castle looking to the stars, to the Orient, and rooted in its Basque territory. The Castle Observatory of Abbadia is located in Hendaye in the Basque region. It was built between 1864 and 1884. Described as a testament in stone, it is a work of at least 10 hands. The hands of Antoine and Virginie d'Abbadia, of architects Eugène Viollet-le-Duc and his disciple Edmond Dutoit, and of landscape designer Eugène Buller. Buller designed the landscaped grounds and partly decided on the building's location. After all, the castle was as much an architectural project as a land-use plan. We'll come back to this later. On the front steps banisters, two life-size crocodiles, their mouth gaping, symbolize the journey. Let's enter in this castle, rumored to be unfinished because of Napoleon III. Because of Napoleon III? Well, yes, in 1836, Antoine d'Abbadia met Louis-Napoléon Bonaparte on the frigate to Brazil. Antoine d'Abbadia was on a mission for the Académie des Sciences, while the future Napoleon III was in exile. Later, as emperor, he promised to lay the last stone of the Château d'Abbadia for services rendered by Antoine d'Abbadia. He never came, and that's why one of the balconies is said to be missing a stone. Of course, this is just a legend. But with its exotic bestiary, crenellated silhouette, oriental decor, and medieval influences, the castle itself is both dream and reason, science and mysticism. Facing the Atlantic Ocean, alongside the mountains of the Basque Coast, the castle combines several inspirations: Orientalism, Romanticism, flamboyant Gothic. It is, however, in the neo-Gothic style of Eugène Viollet-le-Duc. Indeed, the elevations are characteristic of the architect who theorized a modern architecture based on ancient savoir-faire. The plan à ogives, with ogives, on the other hand, is not his work. It was designed by Clément Parent, the first architect, who had been dismissed by Antoine d'Abbadia. The latter was an outstanding scientist. Astronomer, geographer, geophysicist, linguist, jurist, numismatist, ethnographer, Antoine d'Abbadia was a universal erudite. He was passionate about Oriental culture, but also about Basque culture, where his father was originally from. As a young man, he dreamed of discovering the source of the Nile, which later led him to spend 11 years in Ethiopia, Africa. He drew the first maps. He was awarded the Légion d'honneur and the Grande Médaille d'Or des Explorateurs, Explorers Gold Medal. He was a member and president of the Académie des Sciences. He bequeathed his castle to the Academy. He was also a member of the Bureau des Longitudes, the Société de Géographie, the Société d'Anthropologie, and the Société de Philologie, of which he was a founder. His wife, Virginie, shared his great erudition, and it was she who kept a close eye on the construction site. The program of the building itself reveals the interests of the owners, between high society, scholarly activities, and spirituality. It includes a reception wing, a chapel, and, more unexpectedly, an astronomical observatory and a library. The latter is located in the heart of the castle. Following Viollet-le-Duc's principles, the program was established first. The architectural form was then adapted to it. Each element was justified by its function. This was in direct contrast to classical teaching, which placed the program within a predefined composition. To stimulate the architectural balance of the asymmetrical plan, Viollet-le-Duc applied his theory of masses equilibrium. For example, the straight observatory's gable ends are counterbalanced by the turret to the north and the square keep to the south. Furthermore, in order to create a grand ensemble, the plan is animated like a living organism. The Abbadia vestibule, with its grand staircase, becomes the main organ. The secondary organs and members revolve around it and are fed by circulation. Inside, the partitions are made of hollow bricks and the ceiling structures are exposed to ensure the durability of the materials. Functions are hierarchically arranged both in plan and elevation. The exterior design reveals the interior layout. This organization, common to Second Empire mansions, divided spaces for public life, privacy, and service. Reception rooms were located on the first floor and private apartments on the second floor. The attic, basement, and office adjoining the vestibule were reserved for servants. The facades are clearly readable, thanks in particular to the various bays and the modéniture, ornamental treatment of structural elements. They follow the Gothic aesthetic inspired by the Middle Ages, dear to Viollet-le-Duc. Abbadia features bartizans, crenellations, machicolations, redans, faux bretèches, etc. In the main building, 4 rooms are dedicated to the Orient. The Arab Salon, the Chambre d'Honneur, the Persian Boudoir, and the Moorish Smoking Room. The boudoir and smoking room in a turret are circular in plan. They are topped by painted, boiled cardboard domes. Stepping in transports you to Istanbul or Moorish Spain, in particular the Alhambra. The latter name had become that of a decorative style. But while the aesthetic is that of a dreamed, fantasized Orient, the craftsmanship is European. For example, the mantelpiece in the Arab Salon is adorned with shamrocks, a reminder of Antoine d'Abbadie's native Ireland. The mantelpiece also bears his coat of arms and the Latin motto, Lucem amat virtus, meaning virtue loves light. In the Chambre d'Honneur, canvases decorated with Arabic calligraphy are stretched on frames similar to those used for medieval wall hangings. On the second level of the vestibule, the murals are in the neo-Gothic style. Yet, they depict 8 scenes from 19th century Ethiopian daily life. But the pictorial technique, polychrome and formal, is that of the French 13th and 14th centuries. An inscription in Latin runs along the main staircase. May an eager hand welcome him who comes under this roof with a friendly spirit. Guest who crosses the threshold of my house, may the hours be swift and the house bring you good luck. These inscriptions in Latin, Basque, Irish, Gez, Ancient Ethiopian, Arabic, etc. adorn the beams and walls of Abbadia. In the tower room, the furniture is in the flamboyant Gothic style. Here, too, it is perfectly integrated into the architectural decoration. Next to the main building, the 2-story chapel may seem out of all proportion. It was inspired by the Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, to which we devoted episode 35, season 3. But back to Abbadia. Its chapel is based on a seigneurial model of the 13th and 15th centuries. It consists of a single nave ending in a 5-sided radiating chapel. The light but highly sophisticated structure is the result of the complex layout. The structure is left exposed to limit lateral thrust. This was a typical problem with ribbed vaults. The nave, with its curved roof structure, is reminiscent of an upside-down ship's hull. A literate nod to the very name of nave, which in French also designates a vessel. To the north, the astronomical observatory was built by Edmond Dutoit. Until then, Viollet-le-Duc's disciple had been in charge of the site supervision, materials, decor, and furnishings. This observatory replaced the one designed by the first architect, Clément Parent. The interior is devoid of decoration. The trapdoors above the telescope were used to study the passage of the stars in relation to the celestial meridian, projection of the local meridian onto the celestial vault. This observatory was at the forefront of international astronomy in the early 20th century. Nearly 50,000 stars were catalogued here. From the outside, the observatory is entirely in keeping with the rest of the castle and its surroundings. Indeed, Dutoit chose a variety of stones for the entire building, from quarries on the estate and in the surrounding area. As we see, the harmony of the castle is calculated by combining light, colors, materials, and spatiality. These are architectural processes inherited from the French Middle Ages and Oriental antiquity. This logic is part of the 19th century Western current to renew the art of building. Eugène Viollet-le-Duc was one of its leading figures. He theorized the rebirth of a national identity through arts based on the heritage of the ancients. This harmony also extends to the landscaped, functional park that the castle crowns and dominates. It was designed by Eugène Buller. It's a setting shaped by the Basque Cliff. A monumental nature, the ocean, rocky capes and verdant cliffs, high peaks such as La Rune, and artifacts such as the Biarritz Lighthouse, the Fontarabie Church, etc. An environment that, like the castle, encourages imagination and fantasy. In conclusion, I quote Viviane Delpech, author of a magnificent thesis on the castle. The triad of Viollet-le-Duc, Dutoit, d'Abbadia imagined an authentic total work of art, anticipating this Art Nouveau concept by only a few years. The essential role played by the landscaping in Abbadia's artistic identity should not be overlooked. It creates a social and territorial entity in its own right. We must not forget that Abbadia was a residence of its time, an illusion of the Middle Ages and travel that conveyed the practices of 19th century society. A castle that oscillates between dreamed images and contemporary reality, between escapism in the mind and lived experience, to produce a kind of rational madness or mad rationalism. Dear listeners, thank you for tuning in. Let's meet again next week for another summer episode of Comme d'Archi, a new architecture journey to the heart of a mosaic castle made of precious fragments. Until then, take care. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Thanks to Julien Rebours, sound engineer, who is collaborating with us today. Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at comdarchipodcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.